as we know, this is the month of February, and some great things happen in the month of February. And one thing that comes to mind is Valentine's Day. And here on Bird and Me, we are getting together as couples to talk about love. Love. And kind of what that means. And how truly fickle love is. And how delicate it is. So, Hannah, have you ever made a fire before?
By myself? No, I haven't.
You never made a fire before?
No.
Well, I've made a few fires. And most of the fires I've had to use gasoline to start. Thanks to anybody out there who's ever helped me start it without gasoline. But when I think of a fire, I think of layers. What do you think of layers? What do you think of?
Small sticks. Newspaper.
Right. I mean, when I think of layers, I think of cake too, but that's just a guy thing. But anyway, back to fire. So when I think of layers, you said it. You said small sticks, right?
Yeah.
But what starts that fire? What starts a fire?
A flame? Oh, a spark.
A spark, right? An ember, right? So I think when I think of a fire, and I think of that ember, that spark that starts it, right? And it starts with that tinder that's at the bottom of the fire, where you get it going, you start seeing that smoke come out a little bit, and then it starts to catch, right? And then you put the small sticks on it. If you had to compare that to marriage, what do you think the tinder and the small sticks would be?
I would say it's probably God. Like a Christ-centered marriage, because the small sticks surround the fire and keep it going the whole time.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. I think it has to do with a foundation of what's important, right? Of if you set that foundation, if in that fire it's hot enough at the base, no matter what you add to it, right, it still stays warm. Then what's the next step of a fire? You build a few of these. Come on, help me out.
You need logs.
Logs, right? So what do you think the logs mean?
Well, I think that logs could represent trust.
Right, that's one log.
Being a team.
That's a log.
And time.
That's probably two logs.
Balance.
Yeah, I think so. I think communication is probably a good log in there somewhere.
Definitely.
Right? I don't know what gasoline would represent. Passion. Right, you gotta stroke that fire really loud, throw some passion on that fire. But I think of, can I tell you a story, Hannah, of something that I've come across? It has to do with this coin and our analogy about love. And I, from time to time, I meet people and I talk to them about things that are important to them. And one time I sat down next to this World War II veteran, and he was just sitting down, looked a little lonely. I was like, well, okay, this guy's awesome. He had a World War II hat on. And so I sat over him and started asking him questions, how his day was going, how he's doing. He said he was shopping. Talked a little bit about his wife with him. Said he'd been married over 70 years. I said, wow, that's incredible. And I said, okay, so I'm fairly, in the whole world of marriage, I guess I'm fairly young to what he's compared to, right? So we've been married 16 years.
How long ago was this?
Oh, geez, this is probably about 7 or 8 years ago. So again, that's halfway, right?
So at the time, we've been married only 10 years.
Right. And he's been married over 70, right? So I said, okay, so how do you keep it fresh and alive? And he said, if you could tell me 3 things of what you did, what would you do? And he thought about it for a second. He has this coin in his hand and he's kind of flipping it around. And he says, I don't know if he called me a whippersnapper. I don't think that's what he called me. But he said, if I had 3 things to tell you about on how to keep your marriage healthy and happy, he says, 1, love God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your being. Mm-hmm. And always put God and country first. Cool. He says, secondarily, he's like, love your wife as if today was going to be the last day that you'd ever love her. Every day. From the morning you wake up and before you go to sleep, love her as if that was your very last day that you'd be together. And then finally, he said, never go to bed angry at each other.
That is so true.
And then,
I've done that.
And then he flipped this coin at me and he said, you know what? He said, this coin has always brought me good luck. And he's like, I'm going to give you this wisdom now. So always keep this coin. So I think when I think of this coin, I think of that story. And I think it kind of ties back to our fire as, if I am to love you as if it were your last day every day, I need to focus on putting the right logs on our fire and I need to focus on ensuring that that underneath fire stays where it needs to be. What do you think?
I completely agree. I'm always telling Andrew that the one thing I love the most about him is that there's never a day that goes by that he doesn't make me feel loved. I mean, he gives good hugs, and we always do this thing in the morning when it said that one of the marriage things we've read before said that every morning before you separate for the day, you should give yourself 30 seconds where you stare at each other's eyes for 30 seconds and you just hug each other and you just connect for 30 seconds. And I think that we do that every morning. Just, give each other a hug and just be like, I love you. I hope you have a good day. And just that intentional eye connection of like just staring, and just, I think when you stare, you're like looking at each other's souls and just really getting, deep inside and just being intentional. But I'm amazed every day that I get to spend my life with this man for, in June will be 17 years. And I'm the lucky one, I always say. But,
I'm pretty lucky.
yeah.
I'm pretty lucky. Well, it was nice to spend a few moments with you guys and Bern and me. Look forward to having more time with you guys, get to know us a little bit more, kind of see, definitely understand, our marriage isn't perfect. But I think if we put those core things that we just talked about to the forefront, I think there's some that even during the bad times or rough times, right? I think some of that advice will help you guys along the way. So look forward to seeing you guys again soon. This is Drew signing off, and of course,
Hannah.